miss it. I just won't finish it. I just gotta.
I got 1 minute. Got 1 minute. Miss Bly, how you doing?
I'm good.
Did you recover yet? Yes. Yes. Barely. It was a long. Good to see you. Mrs. Butler, welcome back again. Good to see you.
You sure?
So excited. So excited. Oh, 7 o'clock. Here we go. All right.
This conference will now be recorded.
Turn that down just a little bit here. All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, June 20th, 2022. It is 7 p.m. This is a regular meeting for the City Council of Woodland. If I can get everyone to silence your cell phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Are you ready, Miss Amanda? Okay, go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember Rounds,
Here.
Councilmember Chapman,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Holland,
Present.
Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Councilmember Rowland,
Here.
Councilmember Dowd.
Here.
All right, everyone here is accounted for this evening. Welcome, everyone, for being here this evening. We have a special presentation this evening for our newest lieutenant, our first lieutenant for the City of Woodland Police Department, Mrs. Jennifer Ortiz. I'd like to recognize a few folks in the back, Chief Dar Kirk for being here from Kelso, and Sheriff Brad Thurman from the county. So thank you for being here this evening and celebrate with us. I appreciate that, along with the family and friends of Lieutenant Ortiz. I'm going to swear Mrs. Ortiz in this evening. I'm absolutely thrilled that council has allowed me to hire Mrs. Ortiz. She brings with her almost 19 years of law enforcement and an education that couples with that. So she brings a huge knowledge base with training from her former employer, which we're sorry that things went that way, but we're happy for ourselves. So if you could join me up here, please, because I know you're super excited to be here this evening. Mr. Ortiz, would you like to come up as well? Are you as excited as she is? I'll do this for a second here. Don't do that yet. All right. Did you want to say anything first before we get started? All right.
Follow like a saint.
I'm so sorry. So just so everybody knows, the lieutenant loves getting her photo taken. So we had the opportunity to have that done today as well, because the photographer was here taking some of our newest council members, and the lieutenant was also involved with that. So the text message that I received earlier this evening is not very friendly. Go ahead and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jennifer Ortiz,
I, Jennifer Ortiz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
and affirm that I
and affirm that I
will support the Constitution
will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of Washington,
of the State of Washington,
and the laws of the City of Woodland,
and the laws of the City of Woodland,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of the office of
the duties of the office of
Police Lieutenant for the City of Woodland,
Police Lieutenant for the City of Woodland,
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you for choosing us. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's not stripes, so don't draw blood.
Should come over here and sign this for me real quick, please. did you want to say anything?
Yes,
Okay.
I would.
Where she go? No. Go ahead.
I don't want to say anything because I'm awkward like right now. But I just thanks to my family and my friends and the city of Woodland for this opportunity. I really love this town, and I'm glad just to have this little part in it. So thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. The lieutenant joined us actually back in February, but we haven't been able to do this publicly yet. So I appreciate everybody coming out this evening to witness that. We're going to do some amazing things. We already are, and she already has. And under the chief's direction, we appreciate that. But our Woodland Police Department has stepped up to a whole nother level because you're here. So thank you very much for choosing us and picking us to be a part of your family. And with that, we'll go ahead and take a 10-minute break. Chief, did you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, we should be honest, it's really not about the lieutenant or the department, it's about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, come on. I forgot about him. Come on, bring him around. Bring him around.
Yeah, Bolo.
The lieutenant has already started a new program as well, which is the Woodland Police Department Ceremonial Unit. This is Officer Bolo. He's about 4.5 months old. 4 months old, and he is in training, which the lieutenant is overseeing our program, and he is going to be a therapy animal to help folks in traumatic situations or to make you just feel better about yourself when you see him. It seems to help. I think everybody out during Planters Days really enjoyed meeting him and you. So, yes, thank you.
Yeah, he did exceptionally well. Last week was a really busy week for him because we had him at all the schools in the district in the city of Woodland. The Basic Law Enforcement Academy in Burien, and then Planters Days. So he did exceptionally well.
Quite the ambassador.
Except at lunch. Yes, that he was a donation from one of our local residents who raises dogs for the Wounded Warrior Project, and a gracious donation to the City of Woodland for this awesome program. So already the lieutenant, we're taking advantage of her skills and her love of dogs. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much. And with that, what time we got? It's 7:06. We'll take a 10-minute break, and we will reconvene in 10 minutes. Thanks.
Quite the little ambassador. So busy already.
I've seen some posts on Facebook of him learning on the beach and this, that, and the other. I said, all right. I had a chance to see that. Oh, I know.
Hillary right now. What are you doing? Wait. Oh, I muted myself. Do you want me to unmute myself? Yes. Okay. Start the recording. I think I did.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Perfect. All right. It's 7:16. We're back in session. We also have two other proclamations that are on the agenda this evening. Those were just for the record. I read those this weekend on Thursday. It was the Miss Woodland Planters Days proclamation to Miss Brooklyn Donald, who is our new Miss Woodland going through the 2022-2023 to next year. And then a proclamation for the 100 years of Planters Day celebration that was written by Miss Erin Thoney. So we appreciate her for providing that to us, and that is just for the record. I will not be reading those this evening. Moving on to citizen communications for items not on the agenda, we have Mr. Belisle.
All right, I want to thank everybody for their contribution to our Planters Days this year. It was wonderful. I hope everybody was able to make it, or if you're able to see the pictures, you'll see how successful it was. We're already looking forward to next year's event, June 15th through the 18th, and we'll start our regular meetings in September 6th. And so if you want to get involved, we'd love to have your help. It's going to be bigger and better even. It'll be our 101st Planters Days. So get a hold of me if you want to be involved. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Belisle, and thank you to your committee for putting that on. I think it was a great success this weekend. Absolutely. Good times had by all.
And the weather held out great.
And the weather participated,
Held out,
yes,
Yeah, held
which made me very nervous. Anyone else for items not on the agenda who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting?
Is there anybody in your go-to?
No, there's nobody.
Okay.
Nobody's online with us this evening. Moved on to items on the agenda. Mrs. Jennifer Ray Keene with the Port of Woodland. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. There we go. Mayor Finn and council members, the Port Commissioners have reviewed the ordinance proposed for the vacation of transportation impact fees on the upcoming agenda, or tonight's agenda, sorry. Short term, the vacation would be a positive for the Port of Woodland for the Roseway Industrial Park, saving approximately $32,000 for the taxpayers. However, long term, the impact of not collecting the fees would be creating more harm. In our recent open house for Austin Point, a majority of the comments indicated transportation being their number one concern. The issues of exit 21 and 22 came up repeatedly throughout the in-person event, but also on the online open house. The opportunity during this time of significant development in Woodland and the loss of these fees could be contributed to the necessary match needed for the improvements to exit 21 and 22, as well as the transportation system. In addition, real estate transactions made by the port and several industrial developments were made in considerations of those fees, providing the development a reduced rate per acre or per square foot to entice their location in Woodland. This would include the deals that we made for Brown Strauss, Taylor Trucking, Columbia Precast, and their subsidiary of that eventually will be building in Centennial Industrial Park. The Port Commission is not in favor of the vacation of these impact fees. We appreciate the opportunity to provide input, and I'm here to answer any questions on behalf of the commission tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kane. Anyone else for items on the agenda who failed to sign up? Mr. Jeffries.
I'm Pat Jeffries, and we own some commercial ground across from Belmont Loop there between Old Pacific Highway and Green Mountain Road. And it's about on relation to the impact fees. I think one thing you need to be aware of, as we develop that, there's other things the city benefits from that exceed whatever impact fees we might have paid. And that is that part of our requirements to do that is we're going to improve Old Pacific Highway to include a center turn lane. We're going to redo the intersection at Old Pacific Highway and Green Mountain Road. And on the county side, we're gonna improve the Green Mountain Road along the length of our property to include curb and sidewalk, just like Old Pacific Highway. There's $2.5 to $3 million sitting there that's gonna be done. It does benefit our project, but it benefits everybody going down that road too, especially the intersection of Green Mountain Road. And in addition to that, I'm working with 3 different people now that we're trying to get into our area. I'm not at liberty to say who because they have privacy concerns. But 2 of these would be coming out of Portland, and one of them currently in Clark County in Southwest Washington is selling between $6 and $10 million a month worth of product. If you just look at the sales tax that comes off of that, what I saw in your 2022 budget is you're making a little over $2 million in sales tax. If you take $60 million coming in, that's $800,000 of sales tax to the city on your share. And it's also the property tax. There'll be $10 million worth of buildings sitting in there if we get this to happen. But the one thing that we are up against when you're doing that, they're looking at about 20 different locations available in Clark County right now. That's Vancouver, Richfield, Woodland. Prices are vary, and the quality of the land, we're convinced that the exposure they got where we're at is the best place for them. And their manager thinks the same thing, but their bookkeepers, the pencil pushers, are going to look at dollars. So anything we can do to make it more attractive to them, those are long-term. You're talking impact fees, a one-time deal. Those come in every year, and that's what helps a city like this grow. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Mrs. Johnson.
Darlene Johnson, P.O. Box. Do we still do that?
No, just
Oh.
that's fine.
Uh,
You can even call yourself Mickey Mouse if you'd like. We don't
Forget
require-
that.
I'm just saying. We don't require your actual name either anymore. But thank you.
Well, I completely agree with the gentleman before me. And I think that if we do this, well, first off, at the last meeting, I left before this was said, but the Public Works Director said, if we're ever going to do this, this is the time to do it. And I think, why not do it? Because I go based on, you're doing the revenue to the city, but I go on jobs. You know, when we provide jobs, it is tremendous to the population of our city. And if there are good paying jobs, which usually businesses bring in, especially in the industrial area, good paying jobs. And when you do that, people don't have to maybe travel to Portland to get a good paying job or to Vancouver. And it's just, to me, so sensible to be doing this at this time. And you know, you can try it for a couple of years, which is what I read in the thing. You know, if you get a lot and you get a lot of jobs, you've got to win. You know, and we will, I know there's traffic. We're in trucking. Trucking is really interested in traffic. As you know, I've never liked the roundabouts. But in effect, if someone was going to complain about the traffic, it would be Woodland Truck Line, and we're not complaining about the traffic, because when you bring in constant revenue, you're going to be able to fix those things. We've also, some of our federal legislatures, who I know, are very willing to put money into this project. And in fact, it almost came last time, but then, well, a whole political issue. But so we can do it. And now I've got a second thing I want to talk about, because when I came, I didn't realize that I came to talk about the transportation, about the fees, and to have it, not have it on businesses for the vacation, I guess you call it. But I see on the agenda there's also that you're going to be talking about where we have commercial with residential. And in effect, that was one thing. You know, I've got longevity here, and I can still remember a lot of things. So the chamber was really involved with that, and that was to help the downtown area. And the whole idea was that you would have the one floor commercial, and then the people that did that commercial could live up above. And so it wasn't meant to bring in a bunch of residential with a dot of commercial and say they're abiding by that law. And so, or by that, what was intended to be. And now we're getting applications that are obviously to go around the intent of that law, but the intent, not law, but zoning, the intent of that was to allow a big amount of commercial with small residential above, and I hope you make that decision and abide by what the people wanted when we put that in there. Any questions?
I have none.
Oh, my goodness. And I want you to know this is two things I praised the city on, bringing forward. Last time it was only one, and it's been a couple of times in a row, which is unheard of.
We're doing something right. When we can get Darlene Johnson to show up and give us a compliment twice now. Thank you. And it's positive. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
It's a good thing this is recorded then.
Yes. Yeah. You'll never be able to deny it. All right. Is there anyone else in the gallery for items on the agenda? Now's your opportunity. All right. Seeing none. Moving on to the agenda itself this evening.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, second by Councilmember Smith. Mrs. Amanda.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Rollins?
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to Human Resources Committee. Who is that you, Mrs.?
That is me.
Oh, Miss, okay.
It's me. So,
Roland.
we discussed today, we reviewed the current nepotism, policy. And we, don't see any issues with it as is. Don't believe we wanted any type of revision.
Okay.
That
That's
kind of-
it?
That's,
Oh,
that's
okay.
all we talked about.
That was easy. All right. Perfect. Next meeting is the 18th at 5:30 in the conference room here. Is that right?
Yes.
In the executive conference room. We did get our conference room back, just so everybody knows. The lieutenant has been moved out
That's what we have.
and into an office now. Has a home. Finance Committee.
It was canceled today, but we will have our next meeting mid-July. Yeah, at 5:30.
All right. Thank you very much. Mrs. Miller with the Chamber of Commerce.
I brought things again.
Oh.
Sweet. Oh, show and tell.
There's no closure this time, sorry.
That's okay. You know, sometimes it just has to be paper. You didn't bring the puppy.
I didn't bring
I
the
know.
other puppy. Yeah, Bolo has a new friend. His name is Winston. We have a same age, short hair. Because we're crazy like that. 3-year-old and a puppy. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Alrighty. So I just handed you, we'll go over that real quick, because I know you're all looking at it, so I'm not going to take your eyes off of it. It's pretty colored. Don't tell Chuck. He doesn't like me printing color. It is our, so what we did is we went ahead and invited the candidates. It's our treasurer. We invited the candidates, the different, tomorrow is the U.S. Senator candidates. The following week is District 3 representative candidates. Following is Clark County. So if you are in Clark County, we do love Clark County as well. Sheriff and District 5 councilor candidates. And then the 12th of July is Cowlitz County Sheriff and Commissioner candidates. So what we did is we went through, and by we, I mean Dar and our legislative committee, went through and kind of said, okay, who will, how do you say this? primary, so it's more than 2 people on the ballot. So it's not just the general. And we invite them out to come and speak to our chamber. They each get the same amount of time to speak, and then the audience gets to ask them questions, and the same question goes to every candidate. It's great because it's a it's not a 30-second TV commercial. It's not this sign on the side of the road. You actually get to ask them real human questions and see them in person. So please do join us. The first one is tomorrow. It is at Antidote. Then we will be moving to the Oak Tree, which we're very excited about.
Will you be at the Oak Tree from now on?
For our large meetings, yes.
meetings, okay.
Our idea is still to meander around for the networking, the smaller meetings, spread our chamber love and members' dollars for food and stuff throughout the community. Brock's hosted us a couple weeks ago, and everyone seemed to really like them. They were super quick with the food. It was really fresh, and it was good. So, and on the back side, it is a lot, and it's not even everything. It's a lot of the Hot Summer Nights is most of it. It's on there because they have an event coming up almost every single week, and then just different things that we have going on. It is a smattering mixed of these guys too, and at the end, our golf tournament, which I will not talk too much about because I know you guys already have a golf tournament this coming Friday with Rotary. Okay. So moving on from your pretty list of events, which you also all get in your email as well. So since I've been here, we had the Oak Tree ribbon cutting. Thank you all who was able to make that. It was a little last minute. It was great. There was a giant turnout. The menu has changed a little bit. Please do bear with them. They are still learning. Whole new staff, this, that, and the other. Stop in, grab a cinnamon roll, grab some cookies. Their cookies are really good. Pizza Factory in the old Giuliano's has opened. They do a all-you-can-eat pizza and salad bar for lunch for about $14, or just you can do just pizza if you want that, or just salad. City of Woodland hosted their after hours last week. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting because it was like a little bit different. Usually we have everyone show up at once, but this was a really smooth like flow in and flow out. By the time I was done counting everyone, I think we actually ended up having, including our us attendees as well, it was around 50. Oh, wow. We demolished the pizza that Anthony brought us. So once again, if you're into the corner store for their pizza, it's Calamus sourdough crust, and he makes the sauce in-house from a family recipe. It's delicious. Get the sweet and spicy. It's yummy. Planters Day festivities. It was great. Good job. We had a float this year. It was a lot of fun. We need more candy next year. A lot more candy. Our lovely port director walked by and goes, "You have that much candy? You're gonna make it 2 blocks." And well, we made it to like 4 blocks because I told everybody 2 pieces at a time. I was trying to be frugal. It bit me, but it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was actually my first one I've been in of the parade. I've attended it, but I've never been in it. So that was a lot of fun. Completely different. We will be continuing that because that was a good time. So, and then. Okay, visitor center. About the same. Things are opening. People are starting to show up more. We're starting to get more of our 24 visitors per day, 30 visitors per day, which is nice. It's still not up to what it was in 2019, where we were seeing 600 a month. So we're about in the 380 mark. So it's going up, and it will, with all the rain, I will say, and the snow and gas prices, I'm thinking is why we're still down a little bit, but I think it's going to keep popping back up. Lava Canyon, so Forest Road 83, anybody who's just dying to get out there, is finally open. It's only 1.5 lanes because of the snowbanks and the ice and everything. They actually use a front loader to move it. You can't just use a plow. So, yeah.
All right.
That's what's going on.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I think we were all busy the last couple weeks, so yes.
Very much so.
Good. Good, thank you. All right, moving on to reports of myself and Mr. Boyce. Mr. Boyce, I'll let you go first.
Oh, wow.
I'll put you on the spot.
So I wanted to mention that this Wednesday, Public Works is moving to the new space. They're boxing things up as we speak, and when do you think it'll be open to the public?
We'll have the doors open. You just have to put up a boxes.
Okay. Good enough.
Yep.
And I also wanted to mention that we're
Thank you, Mr. Boyce.
Sorry,
June. Did you say July?
Said July.
Oh. June. That's this Friday. This Friday.
This Friday.
Which is going to be Trolls World Tour.
And it's the Antique Tractor Show.
Antique Tractor Show. All right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So I've been extremely busy the last few weeks. I've met with the Clark County mayors for our monthly dinner down in Richfield, hosted this time. So that was fun, getting to know everyone in a non-business facility, which is nice, and learning about their struggles and triumphs, and then also sharing ours at the same time. Planners Days was amazing this weekend. I think I slept a very little, but beginning Thursday night with the Chamber After Hours, which thank you to the executive team for putting everything together, and your staffs for putting your boards together. Tracy, I don't know, Tracy, I think won the quantity award for for information given. However, I think the chief will win with the pictures of the puppy. So
I'll take the quality award.
the quality award, not the quantity. Yes. Yes. It was nice to know that there was 50 people there, though that they were in and out, which was nice as well. And thank you to the VFW for letting us come in and do that, and then to Anthony's, the Woodland Corner Store for supplying the catering for that. Did a beard contest yesterday, which was yesterday was Sunday. Yes, which was very amazing. It was so much fun. Some folks came down. There was one gentleman who, I don't know how old he was, but he was in a walker. He had been growing his, what kind of mustache would you call that, Chief? Handlebar mustache, and it was circled up. He'd been growing it for 63 years.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, and his son was there with one as well, with a baby one he had been growing it for 5 years, and it was very small. He was very proud of it, but it was nothing like his father, so it was good. But all in all, I think it was a wonderful weekend. We received a ton of compliments about the police department and the service that you guys, the department was providing out there all weekend, and then also for the Public Works Department as well, of how nice the city looked. So I know it was a lot going into there. There's a lot of scheduling, a lot of man hours that went into that, but we appreciate you putting our city on display in the best possible way. So thank you for that very much. Hopefully it was successful for you as it was for us. It was awesome. Yes. A few items on your agenda this evening. Ordinance number 1505, which is action item D. We've discussed this in the past, and before we move into that, I've asked that Mr. Goddard kind of give you a rundown, a little presentation on that. But I'd just like to provide my opinion on that, and I agree with Mrs. Johnson. I think we need to go for a one-for-one. Just one floor of commercial and one floor of residential. That's my opinion. Obviously, you're the voice of the community, but that's what I would prefer. And then also moving on to action item E, the transportation impact fee holiday. There are some mixed feelings on this from the community. We have some yeses, we have some nos. This is something I've been working on since 2016, and I know that this has been a topic of discussion long before I came into office. We're almost 7 years into this now, and we're finally to a point where we can bring something before council that I think is a really good compromise. It's a 2-year holiday. Once somebody's able to get a building permit, I think that it will help spur some commercial development, bring some jobs, and increase our retail tax base, which is desperately needed for us, because that's how we pay our bills and fix our roads and do all the flower baskets and wonderful things that we do throughout the city. So I would encourage a yes on that, and let's give it a try. And with that, I will turn it over to consent items.
Make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, second by Councilmember Smith. Miss Amanda, you can take the roll on that.
Councilmember Dowdy?
Aye.
Councilmember Rollins?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Consent items have passed. Moving on to action items. Mr. Goddard, we'll start with you this evening before we start doing any action.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item came before you in the form of a moratorium that we've had for a little, almost a year actually. Tomorrow will be the 1 year anniversary for the moratorium that is currently in place. And if you can scroll down just a bit, if you could open one of those documents, maybe the blue one. There you go. So I believe it was March, this came before you, and it was asked to be remanded to the Planning Commission because the Planning Commission and the staff had recommended a 3-to-1 ratio of 1 floor of commercial with 3 floors of residential above it. And it kind of reflected the current market and what developers were telling us, developers like Kirkland and the Senior Center that was looking to locate next to Safeway. And that is in order to justify building up and the additional cost to build up, that you needed a certain amount of criteria, and for them it was 5-to-1 to justify building on that site. And the staff and the Planning Commission recommendation of 3-to-1 felt like it was more in character with the community in Woodland. And when it went back for the remand, we looked at several issues, and that was, if you'll notice to the right of the ordinance, it says 1-to-1. The Planning Commission looked at the 3-to-1 ratio, 2-to-1 ratio, 1-to-1 ratio, and then the last version, which was violet, or in this case purple, it probably looks more like on the screen like it's purple. It was to eliminate this kind of loophole that had been developed a couple of years ago, and that would not allow residential in the highway commercial zone until we had time to go through and do like a full public engagement, full outreach effort before we started allowing for residential uses in the commercial zone. And on Thursday of last week, unfortunately, after the packet had been published for the council tonight, the Planning Commission did recommend that rather than trying to go with the 3-to-1 or a lower ratio, that they recommended that we just eliminate residential from the highway commercial zone until such time as we can do a full public engagement effort and try and figure out what the community would like to see and how they would like to see it work. So rather than responding to the applicants that were in the door, they wanted a community-driven effort on the back end. Similar to what was done downtown, as Ms. Johnson had mentioned before. And that was a full outreach effort that was driven by the community, not the other way around.
Questions for Mr. Goddard? I think it's yes.
So, so they are now recommending we pull any residential, correct?
Yes, in the highway commercial district. So it would still be functioning as intended in the downtown core,
right,
where it was
okay.
originally intended.
Because I remember those council meetings, and there was a lot of discussion about shop owners being able to have a business and live above it in our old town. But I don't think anybody does that, so it's kind of a.
I think one,
One.
two of them.
Yeah, so out of all of them, there's, I mean, it works for those couple of people, but.
We did have one that someone was living upstairs, but there's no business downstairs.
Gotcha.
So there's it's still a work in progress, I think.
Gotcha. Okay, I was reading, and then the colors, and you just threw me with colors, I'm sorry. You know how I am with color.
You didn't print them.
Yeah. And the reason why they were different colors is just so that you could arbitrarily say, okay, I like the yellow version, which is 2-to-1. And that way, if you decide to make a motion to adopt an ordinance tonight, you can say, I want the yellow version, the 2-to-1 ratio, and there's no confusion as to what you're adopting.
Gotcha.
Mrs. Dowdy?
Okay, so I guess 2 questions. One, is there an ordinance that says no commercial, or no residential and commercial?
Yes, that is the violet or the
Okay,
purple.
so the 1-to-1 on there is incorrect.
That's the blue version.
Oh.
So, Pete, if you
So
could
the one
back
we're looking
up.
at right now says 1-to-1.
Yes. And then I think
scroll all
the
the way
yellow
down.
version says 2-to-1.
Okay, so the purple version
Yes.
is the one that
The violet,
says-
yep.
Okay, the violet says, okay. So then, my next question is, how does that affect the moratorium then? Is the moratorium for the
I was
highway
gonna
district?
I was going to ask Mr. Goddard to explain that, so I'll let you do a better job with that then.
So the third action item on your agenda tonight is a moratorium. The moratorium expires tomorrow. If you make a motion to adopt any one of the versions, 3-to-1, 2-to-1, 1-to-1, or eliminate, then we will not need to extend the moratorium, because the moratorium is to just prevent people from sneaking in the back door while we're trying to take care of business. If you make a motion tonight and take care of business, the moratorium can expire tomorrow and no harm, no foul. If you decide you want it to go back to the planning commission, or you can't get a majority of the votes to adopt ordinance 1505, then you'll need to adopt the moratorium to keep the back door locked to prevent people coming in the back door.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Goddard? Okay, thank you, Mr. Goddard.
So can I make a motion?
Yes, I'm going to bring this up right now in just a moment. Moving on to action item D, ordinance number 1505, Woodland Municipal Code amendments regulating the use of residential uses within the commercial zoning districts, second reading.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1505 that allows 1-to-1, one commercial to one residential.
Mr. Goddard, what color was that?
Blue.
The blue,
Blue.
okay. Okay.
I second.
Motion by Councilmember Rounds on ordinance 1505, 1-to-1, which would be the blue version in your packet, seconded by Councilmember Rowland. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, I think this has been out in the public once already when we were doing it for downtown, so I don't think we need to go through that again. But I do think we need to have it where it's one-on-one, because we have people that try to come in the back door, like Mr. Goddard said, and that's not what it's here for. It's for a mom and pop business or any business that wants to have their business below and live up above where it's economical for them. So I'm for having it one-on-one.
Councilmember Rowland.
No additional comment. I agree with Ms. Rowland.
Further discussion?
So a question.
Mrs. Dowdy?
So question, for the Logan's Landing, that would get rid of this, but what was the ratio that Logan's Landing was looking at?
3-to-1. Three levels of residential with one floor commercial.
So with the 1-to-1, that still would allow one floor that had many places with the 1-to-1?
Multiple apartments, so there's no density limit, it's just a square foot.
So instead of 408, we could still be looking at over 100
Well,
with a 1-to-1 ratio. I want clarification on that.
well, so a 10,000 square foot building, it could have one 10,000 square foot apartment, or it could have 10 1,000 square foot apartments. It's based on the size of the building,
Okay.
not the ratio of units per acre.
Okay.
Councilmember Smith.
If we went with the revised to eliminate residential altogether, the purple, could they bring a variance and like to come in and try to get approval for?
So you cannot get a variance for anything except for a bulk or a dimensional standard. So if it was size or height, you can get a variance for that because it's already a bulk or dimensional standard. Density is not considered a dimensional standard. So, for example, the difference between high density zoning and low density zoning is the number of units. So you can't get a variance, you would need a zone change.
So if they could bring in, try to get a zone change for that one lot that they're working on, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Dowdy.
I guess with knowing that they could have the square footage and bring multiple and it not stay at a 1-to-1, I think I'm more geared to say that the no residential for the highway area, so that we're not looking at 100 plus more residents along the highway. I don't think that I agree on the 1-to-1.
which would be the purple one.
I would agree more with the purple.
I concur.
I,
Mrs. Holland?
me, I kind of feel like if anybody drives around town, you will see like zoning crazy. Like it's weird that you have house, business. And that's like, you have house, and here's a business. And it doesn't make sense that this is light industrial across the street from housing. And then now people wanna pack houses, or any kind of living situation out by the freeway. That just, to me, seems weird, because there was this big development, this whole concept of let's get a lot of, freeway traffic, like freeway business. That's why there's all the fast food and the gas stations and the yada right off exit, what is that, 22?
22.
Which totally makes sense, cause people are traveling, right? Cause that's what Woodland's always been. But I mean, when this came up before, I do recall I said that it sounded like someone was trying to exploit our code. Mr. Goddard did not agree with my terminology, but that's what it looked like to me, because as soon as it was like just bam, we had a meeting, and then bam, here's a application for exactly the thing that people were like, well, we don't want that. And so, I don't know, I dig purple. I know, Councilmember, see, I'm gonna refer to colors. I know Mrs. Rounds likes the 1-to-1, and I think that's perfectly cool downtown. Next to the freeway and next to exit 22, I just kinda don't think that's an appropriate placement for housing, any kind of housing. And I'm a big proponent of housing people, but that one just seems silly to me.
All right, thank you. Anything further? All right, Ms. Mandy, please take the roll on, you got Mr. Smith.
If we vote on a no on blue, we can reauthorize the purple at that point.
Somebody can make a motion, yes?
Okay.
Ms. Mandy. So we're taking roll on action item D, ordinance number 1505, Woodland Municipal Code amendments regulating the use of residential uses within the commercial zoning districts. Second reading, and this will be the blue version within your packet, which is 1 floor commercial, 1 floor residential.
Councilmember Burke?
No.
Councilmember Rowland?
Yes.
Councilmember Dowdy?
No.
Councilmember Holland?
No.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
No.
All right, the noes have it, 5-2.
Motion to accept ordinance 1505, purple copy, no residential in the highway zone.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Dowdy, second by Councilmember Burke. Ordinance number 1505, Woodland Municipal Code amendments regulating the use of residential uses within the commercial zoning districts to only commercial, no residential, which would be the purple section of your packet this evening. Councilmember Dowdy.
Yes.
Discussion. Sorry.
Yes! I am absolutely for no housing.
It's okay, she's new.
she's still getting there.
It's still a yes.
It's still a yes, all right.
No,
Discussion.
I just, same thing that I think there's no reason in the highway district to have any housing at this time.
Councilmember Burke.
I don't think there's any place for housing in the in the industrial or the commercial.
All right. Further discussion? Mr. Smith?
Like my question on changing the zoning, I think if somebody comes to the council with a good project, they can bring it forward to us, and we can determine if it would be a good fit in that area.
Mr. Chapman?
Mr. Goddard, well, this won't affect downtown, right? This only affects the freeway, highway, okay? That's one to make for sure, yeah.
Anything further? All right, seeing none, will you please take the roll on action item D, ordinance number 1505, Woodland Municipal Code amendments regulating the use of residential uses within the commercial zoning district, second reading for non-residential commercial only.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Rowland?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
No.
The ayes have it, 6-1. Moving on to ordinance number, or letter E, ordinance number 1513, transportation impact fee holiday, second reading.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1513, transportation impact fee holiday, second reading.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, I do think that it is a good way for us to get fees. And like the gentleman said, it brings a lot of other things to town, even though they're not paying the impact fee, they are doing other things to help the community. So I'm for it.
Councilmember Smith.
I agree with the discussion about the city needs the transportation fees, 100%. It is definitely needed. But I also look that we are heading towards some interesting times. I think the interest rate's going to impact building. I think any incentive that we can provide towards businesses building during these times of higher cost of interest rate, I think it'd be a good thing.
Further discussion? Mrs. Dowdy?
I know I was a no last time, but after further investigation and learning, I think one thing that the public is not understanding is that it was my understanding that the impact fees are only for new construction and not existing problems. And so, as Ms. Goddard had said, that this is the time to do it. She's not even applying for grants at this point because she's got, Ms. Coleman. Whatever. I'm new. But I think that knowing that, and that a lot of these projects, even a 2-year term, might be hard for some of them to really even use that 2 years. But I think that I've changed mine to a yes for those reasons.
Thank you. Further discussion? All right, seeing none. Ms. Minnie, please take the roll on action item E, ordinance number 1513, transportation impact fee holiday, second reading.
Councilmember Holland.
No.
Councilmember Burke.
No.
Councilmember Rollins.
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-2. Moving on to action item F, ordinance number 1514. Before we go any further, Mr. Goddard, has enough action been taken on action item D that this is not necessary? Okay. The chair would ask that a motion to table this would be the best route for council to go, but.
Motion to table action item F, ordinance 1514.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Smith.
I think we've discussed it.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree.
Further discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll on ordinance number 1514 to table the item.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Rollins.
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
The item's been tabled. The time is now 8 p.m. We're moving into a workshop, resolution number 746, 2023 through 2028, Transportation Improvement Plan, other known as the TIP. Did I get that right? Perfect. All right. Ms. Coleman, you're up. There it is.
There it is.
Questions?
Yeah, I mean, this is, we have this, we bring it to council every year, and basically what we do is we come up with some ideas throughout the city based on people who have applied to the city or inquiring on property development, so on and so forth. And so we look at ways to keep traffic moving throughout the city, looping roads together, getting people in and out during an emergency situation. So based on inquiries that come to us, people who do set up conferences with the planning department, community development. We basically put a plan together, also based on grant availability that's in the area, what we can see to develop the city. We kind of put this plan together. It's not a done deal. I mean, some of it we have money for, some of it we have people interested in moving to the area, so we just put put stuff on the map that we know that we can go out and get money for, or that if somebody comes in and develops a big chunk of property, that we have road expansion going through the property and be able to loop the system through the city. So, hopefully you've all read it. If you have any questions, ask me. There's no particular order. We're asked to label them in number 1 through whatever, and so we kind of put the ones up front. Number 1 isn't any more important than number 10, but we put them in order based on where we know we can get some funding, or we had to kind of some talk about it. We adjusted a little bit every year due to development within the city. The port did some development. We had some roads on there last year that we took off because of the port is put a road in a certain area, so we know that now we're going down this path. So that's kind of what it's all based on. It's not, don't think of it that it's all going to happen. For instance, I'll give you a prime example. We applied for the RAISE grant for Exit 21, so we have a circle on here saying Exit 21. Are we going to get the grant? We don't know, but we know we need improvements in that intersection. So we put it on there, because if you don't have it on there, you can't go for the money, and if you don't have it on there, you can't demand somebody who's developing property to put a road in. So that's what it's about. If you have any questions, ask away.
Mr. Chapman.
Ms. Coleman, like I said, this is something that we got to do every year to keep
Every year.
current, so that when you do have a chance, this is one of the fastest you have to have in place to go for certain grants and stuff.
Certain grants, or if people apply for a development, we can say, hey, we need to move our traffic through the city, so if you're gonna develop this property, you need a road in there.
Yeah.
So, and we want it to loop in, for instance, I'll give you another example, if you go up above the intermediate school, we have a development going on there for residential. We wanna make sure that people can go into the residential area and loop back out and come back out on Lewis River Highway. So we just wanna make sure that we have traffic flowing within the city. It's not exact, it's not exact science, this is kind of generally what we look at, and it can change, depends on who buys the property and what gets developed. But we know that we want to keep the traffic flowing.
How do we expedite the 503 bypass?
Yeah. Do you like how we're putting it right over the mountains in the road, 15 properties, so that's what we're saying, that's a connection point.
That looks like a great
It's not
spot.
exact.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
A direct route for county. Just.
Yeah.
So,
I blame Travis.
Did your
He drew it.
pencil?
He
Did
drew
your
it.
pencil slip? I mean, you're just like, oh, I will call that 503 bypass.
I don't even know how that even got on there.
is the Blacktail connection, is that connecting the two Blacktails through that
Yes.
grassy area?
And there's a little empty lot there with grass.
I know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
All the kids ride their bikes and it's full of potholes, so yes.
So that is.
So that eventually you guys plan for it to go through.
If somebody develops it, then we would like for it.
Is there an actual lot there, or is it all right away?
We have a right of way into there.
Okay.
That's been,
But is there an actual lot for development?
well, no, it's,
I think it's wide enough to develop it.
Oh,
It's just cash that we don't have at this point.
gotcha.
Okay.
They don't want it open to Enso Road.
Any other questions for Ms. Coleman or about the tip? Mrs. Holland?
Can you refresh my memory, the one for gun club sidewalks and bike lane from there down Lewis River Road to, I think, the school? Is that what you're after?
no, there's, no. The one on Gun Club
That's
is a
it's part of the phase
sidewalk,
one.
a bike lane, and a, grinded overlay. Then we have, and those are both two
That-
different grants.
That's the new one you're gonna, okay, we just talked about that in
Those
the
are two
last
different
meeting.
grants.
Okay,
And then we
okay.
also have two different grants that we applied for State Route 503, which is phase 1 and phase 2. One goes from the intermediate school to Gun Club on State Route 503, and then goes from Gun Club to the Lewis River Roundabout.
Okay. You're just so busy, I get it.
I
kinda-
can't keep track of it all.
It gets all mushed up in my head, but when
mushed
it's,
in my head.
yeah, my side of town, I try to visualize what all you're doing there.
You should hear my conversations with, Pete. Too many acronyms.
Alphabets.
So the 503 bypass looks like it connects to Belmont Lou. Is that ever going to happen? Is that
Your
something
guess-
that could happen?
Your guess is as good as ours, but we're putting on, it's a dream, it's a pipe dream.
That's amazing.
That's cut through
Maybe
some
put a
serious
pipe
hillside
shop in
there.
town.
But that's all county. Are we? I guess the question
Well, that's what we're saying. You
well,
know,
we're
with
allowed to put
annexation-
stuff on our tip that is in the county.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the-
Annexed in.
So the cherry blossom one, did you ever do that? Cause that one's,
No, that's, so there's some property that's behind,
Right.
the RV park, the RV sales, that, if they develop that, we will make that go through.
gotcha.
So that's, you know, you put it on there, so if somebody comes and buys property, you're like, we gotta loop this.
Okay.
Yeah.
They also have
It's a
a
game plan.
They also have like a $69,000 traffic impact fee credit for the property that was rezoned residential. So
Gotcha.
that when that road gets built, that $69,000 would, instead of having to pay that impact fee,
Goes
they
into
would invest
development.
it in full city street.
And thank you for doing that, by the way, because I believe, if I remember right, when they did that development, they were going to slaughter that piece of property.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just gonna be the RV and nothing else, so, another great reason to look at this team over here and understand that they all bring, some knowledge and expertise and some thought process, when people come to town. Because we shoved that over in order to get some cross connection, and it gave the property owner another lot to sell and help them out.
And what you have to think about too is when we look at this, we look at how are we gonna get around? You know, we have just as many problems as everybody else does, and we work in the city, and we're trying to get from one side of the city to the other, so we're like, how can we make this traffic flow for our police and our fire and our public works? Cause we're responding to everything. So if it's backed up, how are we gonna get ourselves around? What's the back way?
Any other questions for Ms. Coleman about the tip? Oh, Mr. Smith.
What is on the Lewis River between the roundabout and going past the school? What-
Going past the school, nothing. Going to the school are the sidewalks.
Just
for-
sidewalks?
Mhm, yes, sir.
No turn lanes or anything?
Not this time. We do have a potential for development in there that they would put a right turn lane for some of the property that is on the south side of the road and then on Lewis River, and then there's also a possible turn lane in properties developing up on the north side of above the intermediate school, but that hasn't all been determined yet. We're working with Washington on that.
Okay. The other one that has been pointed out to me is on Salmon, going out to the school.
Yep.
There's no sidewalk right there.
Yep, and that, we have a grant that we applied for that.
So when school is in session, the gates are closed. If kids are running late, they have to walk out on that section with no sidewalks.
In front of the school on State Route 503?
Yeah.
Yes, and we're proposing the sidewalk to go all the way to the entrance to the school.
Okay.
And part of the Woodland Creek subdivision on the north side includes a pedestrian cross-through to the back of the fields. So now kids will be able to walk north and along Statesman and Ambassador, like from that area, be able to make it to the back of the school without having to get onto those major collectors.
How do we make an entrance into there for cars to get them off of 503?
I think that's more of a question for the school district.
They need to buy lots and
Yeah.
make that an
Oh,
entrance.
But I will tell you that we also have proposed a bike lane as well on that back side. So, that'll help as well with, bike crossing, bike lane crossing.
I'm sure you'll take this one, Paul.
Okay. All right, I'm good.
I think Mrs. Ray Keene is in the audience, and I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that, or? No. On the, yeah, maybe you can have a discussion around the dinner table.
I like being married.
Gotcha, okay. We'll send a letter.
Can I say something regarding the port on this?
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to say thank you for the work on, at least in the industrial area. I know that will make several property owners, when we had the discussion with the 426 acre property owners, that will make them happy to see that map. And I appreciate you guys updating this as we go for funding. It really confused the state, and I don't really want to confuse them any further. Of all the different, and they're like, well, which one is it? So this really shows and cleans up that process, and it'll make it a lot easier for us to be able to move that further. The one thing, that I know we're going to probably have to have a conversation about, and which is not the most popular, is
you scroll down, Mr. Boyce, a little bit there to Wayland?
Yeah, you
There
got
we go.
Wayland and Davidson and Scott and everything. As we move forward with that development and all that kind of stuff, and with the overpass, the property owners did not take it real well regarding Roseway being extended further. It is possibly on the cutting block. Now, at least in its potential, where I know we're trying to get with, the city staff as well as county. But the biggest thing is with the transportation to coordinate with the drainage and try to figure that direction out because of the overpass, where the middle one there, where it kind of fits between the W and the H, that would, wipe out, the pumpkin patch, and you don't touch the pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
Nope. Do not. Yeah, I know, I read the comment. Thank you. So we're trying to figure out how to do this and with the overpass, because we cannot develop with 3 at-grade crossings. So if we don't eliminate Wayland, the state's gonna push back on Davidson or Scott.
Okay. Do we need to add, I guess this would be a question, do we need to extend our Wayland Pinkerton connection to extend over the actual railroad then?
So
Just to show that we're thinking about it then?
right now.
It's not a done deal. I mean, as Ms. Coleman said, it's pipe dream, right?
Consultants are actually, so they went back to the drawing board and looking at the map, was looking at the Pekin Wayland extension. Though it's underwater, if we were to do a drainage canal, pipe, something, that might take care of the water situation of knowing of the property owners and then eliminate the Roseway extension. So that would then fit back into, well, how do we fit that into the 426?
Gotcha.
So, that's where city, county staff need to chat with all of our consulting teams to try to figure that out, because we're trying to coordinate that 426 with the county development.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect, thank you. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Information for Ms. Coleman? All right. Ms. Coleman, do you have anything else before we come out of workshop? And it looks like this will be brought back forward to council on the 5th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. The time is now 8:14. We are out of workshop, and we've come to the end of our meeting.
I make a motion to end our meeting.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Rowland. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The time is 8:14. Thank you, everybody. Stop this here.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
I think in all the years I've been coming to meetings, that is the biggest tip.
Why?
What?
That
The-
is the